Hello everyone. Today's a beautiful day out. I thought I'd come out and make a video about something I know a little bit about. Before I get into talking about it, I just want to say I'm not a doctor, so I'm not qualified to give medical opinions or medical advice or anything like that. That's not what this is about. But it's about what I know and what I've experienced and what I feel is my obligation to share with others so that the information I might be able to give others helps them. And the issue that I would like to discuss today is hearing loss. I suffer from hearing loss. I have about a 30% hearing loss of high frequencies in my right ear. I'm right-handed, so my doctor believes that it's occupational because of, well, it's work-related because of the way I hold machinery and tools and stuff like that. And I have a slightly less, maybe a 10 or 15% hearing loss in my left ear. And what that generally means is I still have a range of hearing that allows me to hear speech. But some of the higher frequencies, for instance, I'm a big fan of music. Cymbals, I can't hear. And out of my right ear, I can't hear the chirping of crickets. And a few other things. It doesn't really matter what they are, but it's noticeable in that there are things that you remember hearing in your past that you no longer can hear. And if I close off one ear, I could still hear it slightly out of the other ear. So there's a difference in my ability to hear from one ear to the other. The other thing that it does affect is my ability to hear the human voice in a crowded room or when multiple people are speaking. And there are situations where the loss of the kind of hearing that I have will affect your daily life, especially if it gets worse. So my doctor instilled upon me that I should preserve the hearing that I have, and I do that. And the way I do that is with hearing protection. Before I get into that, I would like to talk about the kind of situations that you're in so that you'll be able to recognize them that potentially would give you hearing loss. It's just my opinion, but I think that loud and persistent noise that you may or may not think is what we would call loud does in fact harm your hearing. I'll give you an example. Let's say you mow your lawn with a lawnmower. You might say, that's not a loud noise. I mow my lawn all the time. It doesn't affect my hearing. Long term, it will. Now let's take it to, say, another level. Let's say you're a landscaper and you operate a lawnmower for 8 hours a day. You might say, that's not a loud noise. But that may be the kind of noise that over a long period of time will deteriorate your hearing. And that's the kind of noise that you need to be aware of, because the hearing loss will sneak up on you and it'll be gone before you realize it. So my purpose in mentioning these types of situations is to get you into the frame of mind where you recognize those situations before you experience the hearing loss, because it will happen. It's inevitable. And hearing aids don't really help you. What they do is they're basically volume adjusters, in my opinion. They don't correct your hearing deficiency. A hearing aid will not return my ability to hear higher frequencies. All it will do is make everything louder, so my remaining hearing is, let's say, more efficient. Um, the damage that the loud noises that's created inside your body is permanent damage. So another point to consider is that, let's say you experience like you go to a concert and you experience a really loud concert and you come home and your ears are aching. You've got this kind of like dull pain in your ears. You might, and then a couple of days later, you shake it off, and a couple of days later, everything is fine. That's the signal that that concert was too loud and you should have used hearing protection, and that you might suffer hearing loss. So what are you going to do when the next concert comes? Because the first one was the warning that the second one might cause more hearing damage. And if you're a big music fan like me, and I used to go to 2 or 3 concerts a week for years on end, where does that leave you? That's going to leave you with hearing loss. So it's not something that you can toughen out. It's not something that you can just kind of ride with. Like if your back aches when you shovel and you come in out of the cold and you have a hot drink and you rest and you put an ice pack on your back, and when the springtime comes and you're done shoveling snow, everything is fine. With hearing loss, once you lose the hearing, it's permanent, and it's always permanent. So you can't toughen it out. You can't ignore it. You can't be all gung-ho about it. It doesn't matter whether a teenager experiences hearing loss, or a young person in their 20s or 30s, or somebody that's older in their 60s or 70s later in life. Hearing loss affects everybody equally, and it's equally preventable. Let's talk about prevention, okay? Traditionally, I've been using headphones since I'm a teenager, okay? Since the early 70s. As a young fellow, I've used headphones. They're great. They're very convenient. You put them on, you can stow them around your neck, you can work, you can talk. As soon as you're operating equipment, as soon as you're doing your activities, you put them back on. It's not a big deal. These have a rating, I believe, of around 30 or 31. And by luck, I went to a concert and somebody had a pair of these. These are foam plugs. They're made by a company called Moldex, and they're called Meteors. And these have a rating of 33. So I like using these. And the reason I like using them is because I have more freedom with my head. The headphones don't get in the way. These are disposable, so they're a little more sanitary. They're a lot more portable. I put these in an empty vitamin jar, and then I have that vitamin jar with about a dozen or 2 dozen pairs of these wherever I travel. Whenever I take a trip, I bring them on a plane. Whenever I'm on a different job, I have them in the house. The other advantage to having these is if they get a little dirty and you've only worn them a few times, put some dish soap on them, run them under the sink, clean them, put them on the windowsill, let them dry. In the meantime, you have another pair. When they get dirty, you wash those underneath the running water, and then you take the ones from the windowsill and you use those. And these will last you. Even though they're disposable, you don't have to throw them away. These will serve you. So imagine that a plug has a higher rating than the headphones. So another aspect of using hearing protection is that I believe it's like a language. Now, I don't speak another language, but I know a little bit about them. If you've ever heard stories where someone says, like, I have to practice my Italian because I'm going to Italy. Well, what exactly is that? The brain functions so that by using Italian, you become more fluent in Italian, the more fluent in Italian you become, the easier it is for you to use the language. Safety and using hearing protection is just like that. So in other words, once you make the commitment to using hearing protection to protect yourself, the easier it becomes. Then it'll be second nature to you to always have headphones, to always have plugs, to learn to carry them, to learn to recognize loud, harmful sounds, and the situations, whether it's operating equipment, whether it's in your workshop, whether it's out in the yard, whether it's at a concert, all the areas that you may experience those kinds of sound that will harm your hearing. It's like that language that you need to practice and become fluent with. Then, what you'll do is, it won't be such a burden, won't be such an inconvenience. You'll never be in a situation where you'll say, it's not going to be that loud. I don't need hearing protection. Because it'll be something you do all the time. It'll be the language that you speak. And what will happen is, as time passes, as you get older, you'll preserve more and more of your hearing. That way, when you're my age, you'll still be able to hear crickets. You'll still be able to hear a drummer hit his cymbals. You won't have trouble communicating with others. You'll be able to hear with clarity when multiple people speak at a party or a gathering, etc., etc. So my service to my subscribers, to people that may see this on my YouTube channel, is take the time, do a little research, recognize the causes of hearing loss, and then take precautions and make it an effective part of your life, because I suffer from hearing loss and you don't have to. Have a good day, everybody, and stay strong.